Everyone is hyped for the fourth Sonic movie, especially because one of its biggest surprises will be the introduction of Amy Rose.
Who are you?
But have you ever considered the possibility that Amy Rose might actually be the true villain of Sonic 4?
This is the worst!
Almost no one believes this could happen since Amy has always been portrayed as a heroine in the games and every other adaptation. Plus, of course, she's hopelessly in love with the fastest hedgehog of all. However, the movie could take advantage of the fact that everyone sees Amy as just Sonic's love-struck friend to completely subvert our expectations and reveal that in this new version of the character, she's been pretending all along. Her real goal was simply to get close to Team Sonic and use them to execute some sinister plan, possibly involving stealing the Master Emerald or even corrupting it. To do this, she would have to convince Team Sonic that a great threat is lurking, in this case, Metal Sonic. What Sonic will only discover at the end of the film is that Metal Sonic was created by Dr. Robotnik, just like in the games, but since Eggman died in the third movie, Amy found the robot and became its new master, using it to create chaos. Or perhaps she secretly convinced Agent Stone to activate and control Metal Sonic as a way to avenge his late boss. After all, he might be the only person who knows where Eggman left all of his inventions. Either of these possibilities would explain how Amy was able to take down multiple Metal Sonics so effortlessly in the Sonic 3 post-credit scene. It was all just an act to make the hero start trusting her. In the end, Amy would only unleash the android to spread chaos so that the main characters would be forced into doing something she wants, believing it's the only way to stop the new villain. For example, they might retrieve the Master Emerald, convinced that only Super Sonic can defeat Metal Sonic, and that's when Amy would seize the relic and reveal that she was the villain all along. That would be shocking, right? But if Amy really turns out to be Sonic 4's true villain, plenty of other mind-blowing things could happen as well. So get ready, this is Cinewave. The concept art from the Sonic 3 post-credit scene made it very clear that Amy Rose and Metal Sonic are from another universe or an alternate future where everything was destroyed and taken over by Eggman with the help of his robots. We even nicknamed this version of Dr. Robotnik King Eggman. Since we're talking about concept art, there's no guarantee that all these ideas will make it into Sonic 4, or if they'll be scrapped entirely. But if this remains canon, the twist of Amy being a villain would change everything we assumed, because it would mean King Eggman might actually be a good guy. This could explain why they didn't use the scene where Sonic arrives in the post-apocalyptic world in the final version of the post-credit scene. The concept art might have been made before the writers decided on the twist of Amy being evil. That's why this other dimension looks so destroyed, and why King Eggman seems so villainous. In Sonic 4, this might just be how Amy describes her reality, but in truth, the other dimension could actually be a utopia ruled by a much kinder version of Dr. Robotnik. If that's the case, even Metal Sonic might turn out to be a good-natured robot, built by the scientist after Amy killed Sonic in her dimension. The android could have been sent to track Amy down and bring her back home before she carries out her sinister plans. But if that's the case, why did Metal Sonic attack the protagonist in the Sonic 3 post-credit scene? If the twist is that the android is actually good, that scene wouldn't make sense, since Sonic wasn't even working with Amy yet. Well, that could be a hint that in the universe Amy comes from, Sonic himself is evil. Think about it. If the Eggman from that world is a hero, and Amy, who's usually good in the games, is a villain, then that alternate dimension is very likely a place where heroes are villains and villains are heroes. And what if Amy really is in love with Sonic, but with the version from her world, who happens to be a major criminal? If we find out that Metal Sonic is actually good, then we can already assume this is true, because it would explain why he attacked the protagonist without hesitation. It's pretty simple, he's a robot, and in his database, Sonic is classified as a highly dangerous criminal. He probably doesn't have the intelligence to recognize that this Sonic is from another dimension, so he attacked him full force. Could the evil version of the Blue Hedgehog appear in the movie? It would be insane to see Team Sonic joining forces with King Eggman and Metal Sonic to take down Amy Rose, Evil Sonic, and dark versions of Knuckles and Tails. Most fans would never have imagined the story going in this direction, but the surprise would be more than welcome, right? If you'd love to see all this happen, comment below with #Rose. Another possibility we can't rule out is that in this version, Amy is still madly in love with Sonic, the main universe one, but in a totally bizarre way. The kind of love where she's been stalking and spying on the hero for months, knowing everything about him. What if we find out that she really did manipulate the Metal Sonic line of robots to trick the heroes, but not to get anything from them? What if it was just to impress them and make Sonic fall in love with her? That would be a pretty interesting way to adapt her character's obsession, especially since, in older games and cartoons, she often acted in a really annoying way. It was only later that this trait of hers was toned down, so it wouldn't be so exaggerated. If the movie version of Amy was a parody of the original, it could even serve as a critique of how, in the past, many female characters were reduced to being obsessed with male protagonists. Now, imagine if Amy actually manages to make Sonic fall for her, but just as he's about to confess his feelings, he uncovers her entire scheme. We'd all be in shock. Of course, after that, Sonic would lose all interest in her, and that could push Amy over the edge, making her try to destroy him. After all, in the mind of an obsessed person, it's either you belong to me or to no one.
That's crazy.
Another reveal that would shock everyone is if Amy isn't just evil, but also a tool being used by another villain, like King Eggman or even Metal Sonic. That is, of course, if the theory that they're actually good turns out to be false. If you think about real-world technology, artificial intelligence is already capable of mimicking humans almost perfectly. There are even robots that resemble people. Now, in Sonic's universe, we have Dr. Robotnik, a genius who has proven he can create almost any kind of technology. So Amy Rose could very well be an android built by King Eggman to deceive Team Sonic and catch them off guard once they trust her completely. In fact, Sonic Heroes actually gives us evidence that this Amy might just be Metal Sonic in disguise. In that game, the villain evolves into Neo Metal Sonic, who has the ability to shapeshift. He uses this to take on the appearance of Dr. Robotnik, but the movie could adapt the idea and reveal that he's actually pretending to be Amy. Since Metal Sonic has multiple bodies in the cinematic universe, the ones we saw in the Sonic 3 post-credit scene could just be weak replicas, while the real one is walking around disguised as Amy. If this theory turns out to be true, it means something even more exciting. There could be a real Amy who was kidnapped by the villains and replaced by an impostor. In that case, Team Sonic will definitely find her. We might even get a battle between the two Amys once the truth is exposed. As we've mentioned before, no one is sure if the concept art of Sonic meeting Amy in another dimension is actually an alternate reality or a dystopian future where Eggman returned from the dead after the events of Sonic 3 and took over the world with Metal Sonic's help. Many fans believe Amy is from the future and that her story will be an adaptation of Silver's storyline from Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Where the Silver Hedgehog believes Sonic is responsible for the end of humanity and travels back in time to eliminate him. This would make Amy an antagonist, but unlike the other theories we've discussed, there would be a higher chance of it being temporary. After all, Sonic obviously didn't destroy the world, she would have just been manipulated into believing he did. There are so many theories, right? If you want to keep discovering more Sonic theories and other amazing content, subscribe to the channel so you never miss a video. If Amy really does try to take down Sonic because she believes he's a villain, the first thing she'll do once she learns the truth is join him to defeat the real cause of the apocalypse, whether that's King Eggman, Metal Sonic, or some other villain who hasn't appeared yet, like Mephiles, the mastermind behind the disaster in Sonic 2006. From that moment on, she'll begin redeeming herself for her mistakes. But what if she had done truly terrible things before realizing the truth, like causing the deaths of innocent people? In that case, maybe the only way to make up for her past mistakes would be through sacrifice, just like Eggman in Sonic 3, unless she could find a way to undo the damage she caused, which wouldn't be so far-fetched considering we're dealing with time travel. Still, it's interesting to think about the possibility of her actually sacrificing herself at the end of the movie, and that wouldn't necessarily mean she'd be gone for good. If her actions prevent the apocalypse from ever happening, the future timeline would change, and a new Amy, one who never had to time travel in the first place, would come into existence. This could be a more classic and heroic version of Amy, one who would eventually cross paths with Team Sonic. We've got 2 awesome videos on your screen right now. Want to keep having fun? Then click on one of them. Thanks for watching, and see you next time!